Welcome back everybody, I'm Dr. Karen Mikowski, aka Butterfly Karen. Welcome. So this is obviously the continuation of the Nancy Guthrie analysis. But now I am focusing only on case CCMP91. This is based on Nancy's location. Now I don't know how long it's going to take me to get Nancy's location, but the intention now, after completing still missing and perpetrators movements, I just want her face because I want to connect her energy back in a moment. I want to find Nancy's location only because I've already covered so many other areas of the case already. I just want to. So I did clock in at 7:57. However, before I just start going under, I'll reclock in at 9:41. So I'll probably start zoning out at 9:45. I'll give it a few moments. So in the meantime, again, this is a real-time remote viewing session. I won't be disclosing Nancy's location openly on in the video, nor will I be keeping that sort of energy all over me right now. I just want to sort of tap back in as well because I saw my dimensional door coming through. Again, the intention is only for Nancy's location. I want to just be connecting to a frequency, energy frequency. If I start getting other stuff sort of coming in, I'm gonna stick my eye mask on because that'll just help me sort of make it a lot darker and just I can zone out everything else. I may need it, I may not, but because the focus is only for. Sometimes when I can do it without the mask, but I can get all sorts of stuff coming in, but I don't want to be diverted. I want to just purely stick with Nancy's frequency. And again, if I have to connect to the perpetrators' frequencies too, I will try and find Nancy's location for them. But I'm just really focusing today on it's time we find Nancy, bring her home. Now I just need to go and get the permission from the guardians to make sure I'm coming back in and they know it's me tapping in, so. Okay, that's that done. Just wanted to make sure, again, as I highlighted in the analysis, people are just not getting, there's too many people connecting to Nancy's frequency or energy and not even getting permission from a guardian. It's just so disrespectful, it's disgraceful. So, I have it now. So I'm hoping I can just, I'm going to zoom back in. I just want to focus on Nancy's eyes again and just really reconnect to her energy. And then we'll go from there. And my dimensional door's coming through as well, so that's great. wow, the zone out is very, I feel like it's, I don't even know why. I'm focused on Nancy's location, and then I was seeing a vision of P. Diddy laid in bed with all of his disgusting celebrity creatures. I don't know why the hell that vision came in. I didn't want to rule it out because it could be a possible connection to sex trafficking. There's absolutely no reason why I'd have to see that. Maybe this is why this case is so weird and why it's that complex. It's because of the connected to, and why I also feel like people just are trying not to open that can of worms because of the connection to something else. But that would have something more to do with this celebrity angle. Or is it possible these perpetrators are connected to these sort of people who do the trafficking for these disgusting, evil celebrity creatures? Hello there. You might could have Morse code coming through. I'll keep that. I swear this case just gets stranger by the day. I went right back to there's so much being exposed. From Nancy Guthrie's case has opened up such a can of worms. I just don't feel like it's fully opened either. The interconnection to so much. It's trafficking, human trafficking. It's like there's people connected to this that are connected to these disgusting creatures, these celebrities, through connections. It's like the darkness feels, there's a darkness here. When someone or something is so hidden, it's because it's purposely meant to stay hidden. A Pandora's box has already been opened. Let me just focus on this morning's visual that was coming through. There's these multiple graves. I was seeing multiple shallow graves. I feel like I'm back on a holding ground. But there's so many people involved in burying people. It's like what that sort of business is registered as. Could be the business in death, burial business, Interesting, because I remember I felt like she was being moved around at the beginning, but I wasn't sure if they were moving her around. A possible, but when she was deceased or trying to move her, or was again focused just on the movements of the perpetrators, constant movement. There's confirmation back at random. I'm just wondering if there's, why is there a connection? So here's the visual I was seeing this morning. It was really strange. I was seeing Nancy so clearly, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm wanting to work on the location this morning. That was the intention. And then I'm seeing these, it's like a burial business. It's very strange. I don't know if it's the holding ground, but it's almost like there's so many people involved in it. And I'm wondering now if it's something to do with this sort of sex trafficking and human trafficking, and it could be a burial ground business that they bury people, but it's through people that. That also explains why I feel like she was showing me with a rope around her neck at one point. And she was, and then as I was seeing her, she was showing me other people sort of locked in. Could have been again either maybe underground, like in some sort of basement, or but on. That's when I was getting holding grounds were coming through really prevalent. I'm like, what the fuck? And then all of these people, so many people, human trafficked. They all had ropes around their neck, which I feel like she was symbolically showing me what she was seeing, possibly saw. She could have been held in one of these holding grounds for the first few days, maybe, for ransom again. This feels like this is connected to organised crime. Organised crime is connected to celebrities and these evil creatures. Somewhere along the line, these people are interconnected. So they may be holding, she may have been taken to a possible holding ground, which I feel like was more north, heading north. And there was other people there, and then obviously she got I feel like she saw again another world she never thought possibly even existed, and it I think it shocked her to the core. It shocked her soul. And I think she was distraught. I think it disturbed her. Seeing a different, it's weird, because if a daughter is in the celebrity limelight, now I'm seeing P. Diddy and his celebrity scum, all of his scumbags. And it may be symbolically, she may be showing me the dark side of the celebrity world, what they're involved in, what they do, who they. We know he was a trafficker now. Just because he wasn't found guilty of it, he was taking children and underage people across state lines. That's a trafficker. That's a human sex trafficker. So there could be private airfields for these evil scumbag celebrities. I'm not going to sugarcoat who and what these scumbags are. These are scum of the earth evil. There may be private keep showing me private airfields where there will be classed as a distribution. So there could, some people could be taken on private planes from the holding grounds. There's like a private flight path where they wouldn't, I don't know if they'd be able to turn the transponders off because of the air traffic, but certain flights may be known to the evil system that are allowed to fly around the country unobserved, even though they're on the radar system. I'm going to keep going with this. So it's like these celebrities have their peoples come to these holding grounds to retrieve and buy what interesting, because I felt like I was hitting on private campgrounds, RV parks. There were businesses, but they're not quite businesses. They weren't utilised the way they should have been, possibly always fully booked. But that means is, again, I felt like these were the heart of the holding grounds. So now you've got accommodations. Those other, but I felt these were more for the distribution side of it. They hold them. Kidnapping for ransoms. They will try and get money out of them first, depending on who. I don't feel like these, they don't care, they know who they want victims, vulnerable victims, obviously. But it's always about money, trade. But there's an interconnected angle to celebrities and the sex trafficking and the human trafficking. That's why I feel like this is much, much bigger than just some random scumbags abducting. And I think they are scumbags, don't get me wrong, but I think they're connected to bigger crime syndicates, organised crime, criminals. They're connected through somebody that is connected to somebody. These are the bottom feet. These are the, I would say, I'm not going to call them soldiers. That's a rank they don't deserve. That's not. They do the dirty work. They do the abducting. Bottom feeders. And they bring them in for kidnapping for ransom. That's how they make money. The fact that they thought they could ransom through Bitcoin, the digital, the fact that they think that's not traceable, well, that would be traceable to any normal person. But if you're involved in organised crime and you've got corrupt people in law enforcement and things like that, not all, you would be able to, you would be confident You could get your ransom undetected, but then somebody else would need a piece of that pie, because you're not going to turn a blind eye for nothing. It's all about money. It's a business. This is $1 trillion. This is a multi-million-dollar business. Trafficking. This isn't just like human trafficking. This is organ trafficking and everything. Abducting people to steal fucking organs. Stealing children. We know what that's about. Which also confirms why authorities know of these people, because it could be the corrupt ones that are involved in it, especially those that affiliate to secret societies that are also involved in this kind of stuff, which is not in rocket science, is it? And they're all connected to celebrities, so you can just follow the dotted pattern there. This is I don't know what they thought she was worth. I'm not quite sure if the real price they asked for in the beginning was truthful or not. If that's exactly what they wanted. The more millions they wanted, that just means there's more people involved that need a piece of the pie. That means there's corrupt people involved somewhere along the line that are going to turn a blind eye and look away and let things come through and let things fly out, etc. But there's a price to pay for that. She could have been taken north to a holding ground. One of these strange places. There might have been technically closed down business, but it's not closed down. Not business-wise, yeah. Not for what it's doing. Strange, when I was on that Route 77, I believe, I passed that with what believed to be an old RV resort, RV park, and it said it was closed, but I felt pulled to look at it. And that's just off the road, and you'd be heading north towards Florence. It could still be active. But then I felt that's where the meth lab area was as well, where there's a big meth laboratory where they make drugs, etc. It's traffic. It's all in that corridor. And it's hidden in plain sight. All of this is hidden in plain sight. It's right there. And I think the reason they don't get raided or touched is because the people that are involved in it. Because there's too many people making money from this sort of stuff. And those that are on the good side and the right side, to go onto these places, they need to have, again, you don't even know if your attorney generals are corrupt or anything. You don't know if they're involved, you don't know who they know, which means there's an obstruction for a warrant or anything for raids. And I feel like when you find Nancy, if you find Nancy, or find the perpetrators, you'll find out where Nancy is. If you find Nancy, don't be surprised if you find a lot more buried people around her, close to her, close by, near her. I feel like we're dealing with graveyards on private land, so you can't just go start digging up unless you've got a warrant. It's like that one in Nagala. It's like that area where there's charity group was checking The Nogala's connection is to the criminals. The Nogala's connection is not necessarily she's there, or, you know, I don't feel like she's there. I feel that was too risky. I feel like they took Nancy north, but these are the same sort of people that have the same criminal activity and criminal businesses in different parts of the country. More so Tucson, Arizona. But it's part of the trafficking corridor, it's part of the movement corridor. Everything's just off, everything is just off the highways or off the roads, hidden in plain sight. You don't have to go far, but logically, they expect you to think, no way would you have something like that right here just off the side of the road. That's just too risky, be seen. Well, no. If you think like that, you're not thinking outside the box. I would hide, if it was me and I had a criminal mind, I would do everything in plain sight. I know it's risky, but I would keep it as discreet as I would let it be seen to the point where people will think, ah, that seems a bit risky. But it's right there. So there's people that know that, and then there's people that would just think, oh, that doesn't seem feasible. When there's any criminal activity ever really truly being feasible, really? The problem with these sort of criminals, they always make mistakes, and I think that's what, I do feel like they made a few mistakes. You don't know on these sort of weird holding grounds. I'm going to keep calling them holding grounds, but they're sort of these burial sites. You don't know if they hide weapons. Especially when they're guns and stuff, because they can be reused. They don't want to completely get rid of them because they can reuse them. But I feel like a weapon was hidden and they couldn't find it. But I feel like that went down, I felt that was to do with panic and rushing. In the digital age of technology, there's no way these criminals didn't have cell phones. I don't care if they're off the grid cell phones, burner phones, you can still trace them. You can still see cell phone activity in certain areas at certain times. There's always that pattern. Just because you don't know who they belong to does not mean you can't see a signal that's active. And if you've got an area that's just pinging multiple phones and there's not much going on there, or not supposed to be, you might want to look at that. And then just because they get rid of the burner phones, that doesn't mean the activity wasn't there and it wasn't already active. And then look for the pattern again. Through time, spaces. At certain times, is there cell phone activity again, even from burner phones, pinging in one area, and yet the place is supposed to be shut down, and there's always a weird pattern of it. And then suddenly the phones go off the grid, and it's like, well, okay, screw the phones, you've got the activity. This could be where these people are active. Now, if you want to look into the people that live in the vicinity, the surrounding areas, it's not hard to find their information just from the renting system or the mortgage system, all that kind of county logs and things like this, and then they tend to have registered phones or cell phone, landlines if they still have those. But you can look into those people. Okay, you can rule those people out. Like, okay, that's blah 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 blah. That's his cell phone, her cell phone. But
Not far from that, there is a build-up of burner fern activity that there's not registered. There's all these ferns pinging, but they're not registered to anyone. That's dodgy as shit, and that's where I'd be looking. Put that area under surveillance. See who comes and goes. Log their patterns. Get descriptions of those people. Put them through your biometric system. See if they ping on your bio system from face recognition and stuff like that, and then see what you can get a lot of information. See if they're known to this, so then you know you're kind of onto something. Or whoever's obstructing your getting the warrants, you need to be looking at those. If you feel like you've got enough circumstantial evidence to think there's possibly criminal activity going on here, this is why. These are the types of people who put a hand on surveillance that we feel like, there's something going on here. We need to take a look in. Get your drones in the sky over these areas, see what's going on. If you're going to intrude in everybody else's privacy, why not doing it to these kind of creatures, to these areas? There's clearly something going on here. But if these places are already known, because of who's involved, then nothing's going to get done, is it? Unless you get the good ones that are going to come in and get, actually do something. But a lot of these law enforcement systems are so heavily corrupted with the wrong people. That's local, state and federal and everything. Otherwise you could combat this kind of shit overnight. But it's a business. It's a business. You want to understand this is a business. And everybody makes money from businesses, from this business. So that's where I feel like she is. So I would look for private airfield, private campground again, registered but not used. Not used legally, like officially closed down. I don't know, just something won't feel right. But still utilised. It's private property, so and you need to be checking I feel like these are just off highways and off roads. They're on the travel path, they're on the movement corridor. Those that are going so much further in, that just tells me there's a hell of a lot more going on. Those that are further in, you might want to look at the private airfields in those areas and then see what's in that surrounding area. See if there's any legally registered companies but unofficially not used, and then start again connecting the patterns to certain look at cell phone ping activity. They might not be registered, but there may be activity going on in those sort of areas or surrounding those areas.
Let's go back to the perpetrators movement. To start moving these people around, you don't know if they have I don't know if you, I think you can buy them trucks, like rental trucks, rental semis and things, you know, after they're out of, you know, kind of like, is it Pence? They sell their sort of trucks and stuff. You could be dealing with those, but they're conspicuous. So when you're seeing those, again, let's go back to the perpetrators movement. I was seeing a lot of U-Hauls just abandoned off campsites, campgrounds and everything, just random. They may be owned by certain businesses. They may have been bought. And they utilize them and they use them to move around, because nobody's going to really think much of constant U-Hauls and things like that. But they could be shipping everything. They could be shipping people. They ship it. You don't know if they're transporting everything, drugs, weapons. So you might want to take a look at these sort of weird areas and ask yourself, is there some weird, if this place isn't active or in business, is it, and you start seeing trucks and things like that parked there, and they're coming and going, if you do some surveillance or get your drones over them, right? And you ask yourself, well, is that just a storage site? You could find out if it's a genuine storage site. You could monitor it. Is that just is that storage? If it's not, if this is not, where are these trucks? Where are these lorries moving to? What's going on here? Why is there, you know, there's a private airfield right next, very close, within maybe a mile or two. You can monitor so much just from the air, just from drones. You can use that level of surveillance to monitor movements of people. How many people are going to this place? How many people are actively in these unofficial places that are not even operational, and yet there's a lot of human movement, and there's a lot of cell phone tower, cell phone pinging. And then there's movements of trucks and lorries and things like that, and all of a sudden there's certain planes coming in. That just screams criminal activity. That's not, it's not rocket science, is it? So you might be dealing with multiple locations of things like that, holding grounds that way. You don't know what else is on that private property. You don't know if they're burial grounds or anything. You don't know. I just don't feel like we're dealing with one site either. I think there's so many multiple sites all the way along, interstate, into different states and everything. And then they could have a specific trucking, an operational trucking company that they use that apparently has a good reputation, but is shipping obviously. I wasn't going to mention the location, but I don't think I'm just dealing with one location. I feel like I'm seeing multiple locations, very similar patterns like this. patterns of business and thinking, again, private airfields not so far away from these areas. So technically, Nancy could be at any one of these. But I also feel, again, if you find Nancy, and there could be a lot of, yeah, I mean, it could be part of the forest terrain or anything. Private land is a forest, a lot of sort of terrain, forestry terrain. There could be little private cabins on them and everything. Like they're probably once used, and it wouldn't even surprise me if it's federal fucking land. Everything's so, it feels like these places are hidden in plain sight. Everything appears normal, but there's nothing normal about them. So the outside world, so they'd be unbeknownst to us people, normal people, we pass them and not even think about them. Oh, that used to be an RV park. Oh, that used to be blah, blah. That's it. But so the criminals involved, and to the people that are also involved in it, that are actually part of the system, that should be protecting people but don't protect people, those sort of creatures, the corrupt ones that are involved in it, I understand exactly what's going on here. I understand exactly who's involved in everything. I understand it all. I understand why it's so hard for the good ones to go in and do something. But I don't want to allege anything because I can't prove it. I understand the interconnection. She wasn't, I feel like she was probably targeted for money. It was all about money. Because I feel like when you have people that are connected to certain types of people, the ransom worth gets higher, especially if you've already got a lot of money, if you're rich. But these are the types, so you've got to understand something about celebrities as well. They pay into insurances, hostage insurances and everything. So those insurance policies can be fucking worth millions and millions of dollars depending on how big you are, how known you are. That can be right down to family and friend, like family, more close family. I've said this from day one, there's a big problem in Arizona for insurance fraud. It's probably huge in the country, but there are certain types of people in business and stuff like that, especially businessmen, CEOs and things like that, and businesswomen, those sort of CEOs, they all tend to opt into a hostage insurance for a reason. Because of how much they're worth. So the targets are the family members. So technically it's not the family paying out. It's usually the insurance company, and it's got to be proven as well. It's got to be, and it has to be put out there as well to the public. Because no insurance company is going to want to pay out anything unless it's a scam. Why do I feel like I just hit on hostage insurance scam? It could be something that's done. It could be something that's known about in these criminals. But they need, you know, there has to be proof of life, obviously, before any company is going to pay out anything. Even though the insurance is a scam. I don't like any insurance at all. It's a scam. And there's so many ways you can legitimately have an operational legitimate insurance business, but it's still a scam. And those insurance companies don't like paying out anything unless they're diddling it themselves, or unless they want proof and evidence of everything. Or certain time frames can lapse. But why did I clearly went something there. I clearly haven't. Again, it's criminal activity, you know. Now, once you get proof of life that the person's still alive, you can get the payout. I'd be intrigued to know if there was an insurance policy done through a family member's being connected to Savannah, and who it was that tried to claim off the hostage insurance. Then you need to be looking there. I mean, obviously they're going to, but they would still need proof of life. Who's the... Why do I feel... Why do I feel like... Why do I feel like there's a hostage insurance scam fraud? And it's where there's big money. But again, these criminals, they want the money digitally. You're not going to get your money digitally without control in this digital world with the technology we've got, unless it's being distributed digitally and then, oh, we don't know where it went, we couldn't find the exact creator. What a load of shit. You can send all kinds of crap to freaking Mars, but you can't catch these little creatures. Tot off with the bullshit. It's all very controlled. It's because people are involved and people are getting a piece of the money pie, which is why crime is allowed to continue the way it does. That's why new scams are created every day. It's only the good agencies and the good investigators that are cracking down on literal all types of scams, fraud and everything in different states. It's not the evil corrupted creatures that are involved in politics. It's those. I don't trust any politician. Like my freaking life depended on it. You're joking, right? But no, they're going to politics for a reason. But once a pattern emerges, you will always get the good investigators who will come in and investigate it and then crack down on it. There has to be a perception of some sort of justice. But if you seriously think the good justice that's happened outweighs what's constantly going on every day, 24/7, no. They always have to have little scapegoat, corruption, justice, false. It's just the network in all of this is huge. In Nancy's case, they may have known she was ill, but there was a big paycheck, possibly paid for the insurance company. feel like mistakes were made and it resulted in her losing her life. I personally feel like she was hit too hard at one point, and that might have caused her to have a heart attack or anything. I put it into submission. You're talking about evil human creatures that have zero respect for human life, let alone, they don't even respect their own life. They don't respect the lives of the families or anything. They don't give a flying, they don't care about anyone or anything apart from money. And they will do anything for money. They will kill anyone for money. These are the lowest of the low. These are the bottom feeders. These are the types that are used because they don't care. They're inhumane. They're quite demonic. They don't care. The fact that I had to see him continuing his disgusting connections before I even hit on anything else to do with this tells you how high up this goes. And that creature is fucking involved with the fucking CIA. Just like freaking Epstein. That's how high up it goes. And I don't think it's to do with anything. It's not about the Epstein files with Nancy's case. It's all to do with trafficking. Now, yeah, he's obviously a notorious trafficker. I don't want to tie Nancy to Epstein. No, it's. But the system is there. The system is. She's just being dragged into that. She was abducted into that fucking system. Evil world that they all control. They all get a piece of the pie. It explains the high level of astral spies I've had to deal with over the past, since I started this case. Can I prove it? Can I prove it being astrally spied on? No. Do I give a shit whether people believe me? No. But I know what I can do, and I know what I have to see. I understand the world of astral fucking spies. So am I surprised I was not? Oh, of course I freaking was. You can't have a frequency energy like mine and not be monitored. And it's not a compliment, it's just, that's it. My frequency is out there, literally. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I work on the freaking high quantum realm. I get quantum intelligence. You seriously think that you... I understand why I was dragged into this case for a reason. I understand my calling. I understand my mission. It's all very interconnected. But it's not just how high up it goes, it's how bottom feeding low it starts. They use the dregs of society to do the dirty work. I know there's been a lot of speculation about a private airfield, a private plane was leaving an airfield close to Nancy's around about the same time, early hours. I don't believe she was on that plane. Do I believe that's criminals performing a criminal activity at stupid o'clock in the morning? Yeah, because that's when they're under the radar more. They can remain under the radar. But I don't feel like, I feel like she was moved in, I feel like she was in vehicles. I was seeing vehicles. But I was seeing switching vehicles. And then I was seeing them heading out toward, again, north, not south. At one point, I wasn't sure if they were taking her towards New Mexico. You go north, you can still get to New Mexico. You can still get to Albuquerque. When you get right up to Flagstaff and you go, ooh, I might go into Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. So you can get to New Mexico north way around. It's a long way around, but it's north. You don't know if they're doing literal freaking U-turn, like just giant U-shaped business. Okay, starting Tucson, all the way north Flagstaff, distribute to Utah, distribute to Colorado, back down into New Mexico, might head into Texas maybe, right? And then head back slightly up, back to Texas to Mexico. That could be just one giant square route. And it's just one, the corridor, distribution corridor is right there, all the way up, all the way in just one grid. That is one giant square grid. Now there's probably multiple of those all around the country, but this one comes directly from the Mexican border. And Utah has a huge, big problem with drugs and fentanyl right now, obviously. Same with Colorado. Same with New Mexico and Albuquerque. It's amazing how the pattern's all the same, isn't it? All the worst drugs are in certain areas in these states. It's not rocket science, is it? Now I'm sure they have a route that goes west towards Nevada, that covers California, Washington, you know, all the way up Washington State, all those northern routes, and then back down into probably Nevada. But it's going to take I'm too suspicious. And rightly so, because I understand more than most people do. But you could you'd need a serious operation if you wanted to take this whole construct down completely. It would take a big operation, because you would have to hit all of these places all at once, not give them chance to run and hide, little creatures. There's too much of it. There's too many. That's why I feel like it's so hard. So I feel like it's so hard for the good agents, good investigators, good detectives, because there's so much evil. It's so hard. There's so much of this. So the operation behind it would have to be vast. And then you'd have to, and again, I'm suspicious. So I feel like I'm tapped into the energy of, even the good agents would be very suspicious about who they're possibly working alongside. That's sad. They would be paranoid, like, well, not paranoid, that's probably the wrong word. Suspicious, yeah. Like, not very trustworthy. If you want to understand what's wrong with these corrupt people and these agencies, just listen to the ex-agents who speak about it and tell you the truth, and the whistleblowers. The whistleblowers will always tell you the truth, but the whistleblowers will always be persecuted because they're speaking truth. That's the whole point. So now, whether you decide you want to trust or believe that whistleblower, that's a freaking individual choice, but there's no smoke without fire. So I'll continue to, if anything else comes through, I may have to work on another one, but I may get a more specific look. I feel like I know where it is. I want to go to the state police, but I don't even trust them. It's not just the state. Can you imagine? I'm not even an investigator like that, and I'm not even part of this justice system or anything. And I don't trust any of them. It's that bad. I don't know who to trust. I don't have any faith in justice at all. But can you imagine how bad it is for those that are in the criminal system? And I'm not talking about the corrupt creatures that have allowed themselves to be corrupted. I don't give a flying flip-flop about them. I'm talking about the genuinely good ones that have probably left or retired now, and they're just looking at it like, the hell was I part of? How did I even survive that? That sort of stuff. Persecuted, ostracized and everything. Imagine that. Story of my life. And so I'm going to close this out at 11:26. I'll probably still send all the reports and even this one to state police. I don't really know what they could do, but I have a feeling I know where she could be. I'm not going to say specifically which one I think it is, because like I said, there's many locations, but there's one I'm focused on where we could find her. I'll speak to my lawyer first, and then I will speak to state police, maybe. See what we can do. Other than that, I'll see you all very soon.